Hello everyone, it's your favorite channel in space here, and a few days ago, one of my friends brought this video to my attention. The video in question being Tyler, and this says, most movies push this religion, and you probably never noticed. Now, this video on the title already sounds kind of like it's gonna be a mess, and oh boy, you do not even know the half of it. It was so bad that me and my friends basically agreed right then and there that I had to make a video on this, and so here I am fulfilling that oath. As a quick addendum, I don't know this content creator very much. I've seen this video only, and I don't really care to look into the rest of her, and I'm not even attacking her as a person, really. I'm going after this video because this video is dumb, and you will see why soon. Anyway, let's begin. Now, I will, for honesty's sake, I will also link the video down below so you can watch this video beforehand, but this isn't as necessary as some like my Spoonhead or Lily Orchard videos. But regardless, I still recommend if you have any questions about what I say here, go watch the original video, as I am always upfront for transparency. Anyway, this video basically boils down what it actually says in a concise manner, is it's trying to push the idea that a bunch of movies in Hollywood are filled with Gnostic, I cannot pronounce this word right for some reason. Anyway, Gnostic text and like that religion is basically pushed on kids to try to get them to believe it, right? Now, the thing is that there are moments where she almost has a point, but most of them are so stupid and bizarre, I don't understand how she actually got this conclusion. And we'll be going quite over everything, but we'll try to go over as much of it as possible. Now, most of the video is dedicated to pointing out things that she believes she found in Wreck-It Ralph, specifically. And this is where we're going to get into some stuff that just doesn't make sense. So the first claim I'm going to talk about is that she tries to make this moment that, like, in the effort to push the Gnostic religion onto people, kids specifically, they try to paint Fix-It Felix as like a Jesus, as like he's Jesus and how bad he is because he's mean to Wreck-It Ralph, which is already stupid because Fix-It Felix is not any kind of Jesus figure. Like, sure, they have the ability to fix things, but that's a very broad group of characters and people across history would have that, including every doctor. So, yeah. On top of that, Fix-It Felix is the least mean person to Wreck-It Ralph at all. In fact, even before he kind of understands Ralph better, he already cares enough for him that he worries about him. Does he treat him exactly right or stand up for him like he probably should? No, not really, but that's not really the point. The point is that Fix-It Felix isn't the one being really mean to Wreck-It Ralph. He is the townspeople. Going back to that, Jonah tries to make the point that Wreck-It Ralph is Satan, and like, we try to push that evil is good. Now, if you were an absolute, like, you just did not think of it all, right? It's when he says, I'm bad and that's good, all that jazz, then you'd almost get away with that, but if you watch the movie and have any critical thinking skills, that's completely a stupid take to have. Because the whole point of the movie is that Ralph isn't a bad guy. Like, they literally even say that with Zangief saying, you're a bad guy. But that does not mean you're a bad guy. Like, this is literally pointed out in line near the start of the movie to point this out. Wreck-It Ralph is doing his job in the game, and if he doesn't do his job in the game, then everything falls apart. So, already that has the issue right there. But also is that the movie even points out when Ralph does do some stuff bad, it points out when he is doing them, and it's distinct from him doing his job. And the entire point of the movie is that people are mean to Wreck-It Ralph when he does not deserve it. He's just doing his job like everyone else, and he's being treated unfairly for it. It's pretty clear if you see the movie. And then she tries to say that Wreck-It Ralph trying to get the medal so he can be seen as a hero is like Lucifer rebelling against God, trying to take God's place, which doesn't even really make sense. Like, realistically, Wreck-It Ralph is not mad at Felix. In fact, his whole revenge / getting his appreciation really doesn't rely on Felix at all. He's totally directed, his anger is directed to the townspeople, not really Felix in any particular way, except maybe some occasional quips. But even then, he really doesn't hate him that much. He points out he's a good guy. No one really dislikes Felix. He's generally just that kind of dude. And then you get to one of the dumb parts, which tries to say, like, Ralph is like the serpent in the garden corrupting Vanellope to, like, rebel against the system, which is really stupid because, like, objectively, Vanellope for the movie is a much more morally questionable person than Wreck-It Ralph. Like, she is not some kind of, like, innocent little girl that Ralph finds and corrupts. If anything, it's almost closer to the opposite, but not even particularly in that direction either. But regardless of that, that metaphor doesn't make sense. And then she gets to the part where, like, King Candy is, like, supposed to represent God, and, like, and it comes to overthrowing God, and that's good. But it fails in a few important bits because of the major detail that King Candy is not supposed to be the ruler. He's literally someone who hid the truth from people, lied to them, and then manipulated reality. His goal, like he says, like, he tries to compare, like, eating the forbidden fruit to, like, Vanellope winning the race, but that's not how that works at all. Vanellope is supposed to be in charge. That is her place in the kingdom, and King Candy showed up and took it over. If you were going to make any kind of parallel, King Candy would be closer to a Satan figure, ruining the good place it used to be so he could try to rule it. But even that's a flimsy argument. And also, she tries to compare that, King Candy is definitely supposed to be God in this movie because he brought down the plague, aka the killer cyberbugs. But that doesn't make sense either because King Candy had nothing to do with the cyberbugs. They were because of Ralph. And the bugs definitely don't work for him because one of them literally ate him. Technically, I think he died there. I think the bug just took on his personality, I think. I'm not even entirely sure on that. But that's a whole different theory that could be a fun discussion for later, but that's beyond the point. The point is, yeah, we spent a long time on this one movie, but she spends a long time of it too, and the next part will just be kind of like rapid-fire shots on the rest of the movie she talks about, okay? Let's go. Now, the next part is basically her going off on these different movies, saying they're secretly trying to push Gnosticism on people, but she does also go into this idea that supposedly is a Gnostic text and religion. I don't know because I'm not an expert on that personally. I know some of it, but not a whole lot. But they go on how, like, a lot of these movies have, like, the independent rebel female character who breaks the main character out of the status quo and blah blah blah. She's supposed to be like a female Satan kind of thing, which I don't know about any of that. But what I do know is the archetype of a guy living a normal life and then some girl convinces actually more just the broader narrative of usually one character pushing another one out of their comfortable life to show them how the world really is or what they need to do to step up to do the right thing is a very common archetype. I'm not the biggest fan of Joseph Campbell's the hero's journey, but this is objectively one of those things that just pumps up. It's an archetype of the mentor or the character that shows them the truth of the world. This is not a Gnostic limited concept. This is a universal concept across storytelling. So pegging this on that is not a good look. The first thing she goes on the Truman Show, which I have not seen that film, and I have heard people compare it to, like, the kind of, like, Gnostic belief thing, but fundamentally, but as far as I can tell, that is all just people making a comparison rather than an actual attempt. But also, she does say one thing is objectively untrue, where, like, at the end, when Truman goes into the black void, as she calls it, that we don't know what happens to him, but we do, more or less, because that's what the real world is. That's the entire setup of the movie. He lives on a TV show, but it's pretty freaking clear what happens when he gets out of there. Like, it's not hard at all. And if I wanted to, you could even make a stretch of that, you could claim there is a Christian element to that from her description as well. Living in a world that's manufactured and fake, but learning the truth of things, even if it's difficult and not what you want to believe, not easy on you, is a bit of a Christian telling as well, but that is a more speculation that I won't go into. She also talks about this Yeti movie, which I'm going to be completely frank here, I have not seen it, so I cannot talk on it, and I won't talk to you. The Lego movie is just not that kind of thing at all. Like, she tries to say that, the big business guy is like God, but that doesn't make sense. He's clearly a parody / caricature of, like, evil rulers of big business people and has no religious element to him at all. Like, this is just he's closer to a critique of a capitalist than he is, like a God, which is just, I didn't even know what she was going on with that one. Free Guy is kind of a similar thing, except for the problem is she tries to say that Free Guy's world before he goes on this Gnostic adventure is perfect, but it's not. He lives in an objective hellhole where, like, people do crazy Grand Theft Auto style stuff. Like, he does not live in a perfect world by any stretch of the imagination, and her entire thing also just kind of ignores the plot of the movie, which I saw. It was okay, but it's no great movie, but it's not so bad. The fight was fun, but that's a different story altogether. And then she goes on to Ugly Dolls. I'm going to say this: if you try to look for any deep philosophy in Ugly Dolls beyond a kids movie trying to be unique and special, but being every single basic kids movie ever, I'm sorry, you're just not going to find one. Ugly Dolls is just not worth deep philosophizing any which way whatsoever. Aladdin is actually pretty simple because of the tiny issue of it's not a completely just made by the blue story. It's based on a tale of 101 Arabian Nights that has a long different tradition in India and the Middle East region. So that is not something based on that. It comes from a complete different cultural tradition. And also, she does say one thing that's kind of interesting, where she almost has a point, where she points out, the genie from Aladdin is the demon. Which is, I mean, there's some connection, because genies in Arabian / Middle Eastern / Muslim Islam mythology are called jinn, which are kind of, from my understanding, a bit like their version of like demons and angels and other spiritual creatures, but they are also not all evil or all demonic in a sense. Some of them are quite good in their mythology. So saying that the genie is a demon because he belongs to that group would be like saying an angel a demon because he belongs to the same group that has sub-members who do the evil things. So yeah, I wouldn't go with that at all. Pocahontas, that's just a fairy tale reimagining of a real woman, and not really worth much discussion either. Little Mermaid, based on a completely different story once again, and also doesn't fit a Gnostic narrative at all. And so yeah, that's pretty much all the movies she covered, I believe, unless I forgot one. And I want to go over to my point as we wrap this up after we've now covered all the movies, and one thing she finally missed out on. Now, if you saw the thumbnail for her video, you may have noticed something noteworthy, is that all the videos of the little movies she talks about are on the cover to various degrees, except for one. Because in the thumbnail, there is Neo from The Matrix. But in the actual video, she does not mention The Matrix at all, which is kind of funny, because that was the one movie, the entire list, that actually was inspired by Gnosticism. Like, actually was. Like, not even like a theory, that's just a fact. The directors openly admitted they took inspiration from that. She would have had at least a bit of a point if she just actually talked about that movie. But she didn't. I don't know why she didn't. That would have been the easiest point she could have made, because everyone who knows about these kind of like things would know that. So I don't know why she put it in the thumbnail, but then just didn't use it. I can only imagine it must have gotten like cut in editing or something, or she forgot. But either way, like, you had one time you could have been right. One time you could have been like, yep, this movie was based on Gnostic text, but you just didn't, and she failed at that record. But even more broadly, is there some kind of push to put Gnostic text in media? Probably not. I mean, the world's a strange place. There's tons of groups pushing different things. And so, can I be certain with 100% certainty that no one who worked on those movies is pushing, is Gnostic or wants to convert people to their religion? No, I can't be. In fact, given the fact that these movies have hundreds of people who work on them, probably one of them was, at least on one of them. But here's the fundamental thing. The plots and the way she described the movies do not fit that narrative. They're just their own narratives that do not correspond to what she was suggesting. So even if you were trying to hunt them down, you found movies that didn't put. And if you noticed, if you actually have seen some of the movies, particularly Regular Alpha shows it quite blatantly, she just ignores context and parts of the movie that change the complete meaning of things. Where it almost looks she has a point when she says it, but if you actually saw the movie, you realize she just left out context or other details or just straight up made up stuff to try to make her point look more reasonable, which is very, very bad as far as trying to make a point. In fact, it's considered incredibly bad form to us, people who try to make these kind of intellectual points. And overall, and this is something I don't like, and this is a bit more personal, but I don't like Christians that do this kind of thing where they try to point out things are this or that without good proof, because it just makes all of us look crazy, and make like the people who go on about how like this is like D&D is demonic, or cartoons are trying to mind control you, stuff like that, right? Like, is there groups or things that try to push their agenda? Obviously, the world. It's not like we don't live in a world that doesn't push that, but this broad kind of like, oh, the Gnostics are out to get you, and then you just try to bend movies backwards to prove your point. It's not good. It doesn't make any of us look good, and it's just dumb. It's poorly thought out, and it's just bad. Like, if you wanted to do a discussion on Gnosticism in movies, find movies that actually talked about them. You had at least one with The Matrix that I can presume you knew about, but you just didn't. And it's overall just, it's like, there's so many other ways you could have gone about this kind of thing that would have been more informative and more interesting, or at least not butcher the movies. But instead, or you could even try to make a video where it's like going over how a kid might misinterpret these as these things, and you would have had something to go on there. But overall, it's just a really bad video, and I want this to kind of serve as a warning for people. But if you're going to try to make a point of how something contains a theme or a message, try to look at it don't try to look at it from all the information available to you. Don't just like ignore information that is inconvenient from you without some good reason, because at least you making videos like that, which are, as you can tell, not very well thought out. Overall, that's just my thoughts and opinion. What do you think? Leave your likes and thoughts and comments down below. If you just like this video, just like me and tell me why I'm stupid. Either way, I will see you all next time.